for the Holy Bible said, Mary's boy child, Jesus Christ, was born on Christmas Day.
Hey, Ryan the Youth Pastor has posted his response to my Bible Contradictions 2 video, in which I discussed, among other things, the contradiction between the infancy narratives in Matthew and Luke with respect to when Jesus was born. As ever, I thank Pastor Ryan for his response, and again note my appreciation for our challenging, respectful, and interesting exchange. Since the wheres and whens pertaining to Quirinius have been a matter of some controversy, my response is going to take 2 videos. This, of course, is the first. In a nutshell, the contradiction at issue here is that Matthew places the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king. That's Herod the Great, who reigned from 37 BC until his death in 4 BC. By contrast, Luke places Jesus' birth at the time of the first census taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. Publius Sulpicius Quirinius was appointed governor of Syria by Caesar Augustus in AD 6, 10 years after the death of Herod the Great. In my Bible Contradictions 2 video, I argued that this has Matthew and Luke's infancy narratives placing Jesus' birth at least 10 years apart from one another, which means that, among other things, as a matter of historical fact, the narratives contradict one another. In his video, Pastor Ryan suggests 4 possible solutions that would, he argues, eliminate the contradiction. For the next several minutes, I want to explore each of them. The first solution Pastor Ryan proposes, and the one he says he tends to favor, is that the Roman census mentioned in Luke 2:2 took place before Quirinius was governor of Syria. So a more accurate translation of Luke 2:2 on this theory would be the census taken before Quirinius was governor of Syria. Now, what's the basis for this proposal? Well, it's claimed that the Greek word translated into English as first can also be translated before. The Greek word at issue is protos, which is an adjective and a superlative, can also function as an adverb, that is used over 100 times in the New Testament. According to the Greek lexicon I've checked, it means first in time or place, first in rank, first or at the first. I'm going to offer 2 arguments to refute Pastor Ryan's claim here. First, protos is almost never translated before in the New Testament, and never in Luke's Gospel. Out of the approximately 101 times protos is used in the New Testament, I found only 2 incidents of its being translated before. The first is John 1:15, which has John the Baptist say of Jesus, "He existed before me," and the second is John 1:30, which also has John the Baptist say of Jesus, "He existed before me." 2 out of 101 times seems to me to be the extreme minority report. Moreover, it's not clear that protos was meant to modify census in Luke 2:2. For example, Young's literal translation renders the passage, "This enrollment first came to pass when Cyrenius," that's transliterated Greek for Quirinius, "was governor of Syria." That is, protos may well be modifying what Young's literal translation renders "came to pass," which is the Greek word ginomai, I believe I pronounced that correctly, which means to become, to come into existence. This take on what protos is modifying in the sentence fits far better with the historical record, which takes me to my second argument. There was no Roman census in Judea prior to AD 6. The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops sums it up nicely in a comment about Luke 2:2 that appears on the conference's website. I've put a link to it to the right of the screen here. Although universal registrations of Roman citizens are attested in 28 BC, 8 BC, and AD 14, and enrollments in individual provinces of those who are not Roman citizens are also attested, such a universal census of the Roman world under Caesar Augustus is unknown outside the New Testament. Moreover, there are notorious historical problems connecting with Luke's dating the census when Quirinius was governor of Syria, and the various attempts to resolve the difficulties have proved unsuccessful. The commentary continues, Publius Sulpicius Quirinius became legate of the province of Syria in AD 6 or 7, when Judea was annexed to the province of Syria. At that time, a provincial census of Judea was taken up. at that time a provincial census of Judea was taken up. The bishops know their history here. The historical record is quite clear about this. See, for example, Josephus's Antiquities of the Jews, in which he reports that Quirinius was sent to Syria as governor and to be an assessor of their worth, Syria's worth. And Quirinius was also sent to Judea, since it became part of Syria, to take a census of their worth, and to make an account of the possessions of Herod Archelaus. Josephus dates this for us. In his Antiquities, he says this occurred after the 10th year of Herod Archelaus' government, and in the 37th year after Caesar's defeat of Antony at Actium. Herod Archelaus, the son and immediate successor of Herod the Great as king of Judea, ruled for 10 years from his father's death in 4 BC until he was removed from power by Caesar Augustus in AD 6. The Roman victory at Actium happened in 31 BC. Go forward 37 years, and you arrive at AD 6. Writing about 50 years after Josephus, the Christian church father Justin Martyr wrote in his first apology, addressed to the Roman emperor and senate, "Now there is a village in the land of the Jews, 35 stadia from Jerusalem, in which Jesus Christ was born, as you can ascertain from the registers of the taxing made under Quirinius, your first procurator in Judea." Quirinius, as Justin Martyr says, was the first Roman procurator, governor, in Judea. This, of course, was in AD 6. Justin refers here to the provincial census in Judea that occurred under Quirinius at that time. Pastor Ryan pointed to several other censuses ordered by Caesar Augustus, specifically one in 28 BC, one in 8 BC, and one in AD 14. Could any of these have been the census to which Luke 2:2 refers? No. First, we can eliminate the censuses in 28 BC and AD 14 just because of the dates. The former is far too early, the latter is far too late. Second, the census in 8 BC is the only viable candidate date-wise, but it isn't relevant because, as the Catholic bishops noted, it was a census of Roman citizens. This would not have included the inhabitants of Judea. Third, even if Roman citizenship were not an issue, to have Jesus born in 8 BC creates other significant problems for Luke's gospel. Luke 3:23 tells us that Jesus began his ministry at the age of 30. And Luke gives this historical placement so we can identify the year. Luke 3:1, in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar. Tiberius Caesar was emperor from AD 14 to AD 37, so the 15th year of his reign would have been AD 28 to 29. So Luke has Jesus 30 years old in AD 28 or 29. Had Jesus been born in 8 BC, he would have been 30 in or about AD 22, approximately 6 years before Luke says he was 30. So unless one wants to say Luke had it wrong in chapter 3, verse 1, the 8 BC census is out. Fourth, under Herod the Great and his immediate successors, Judea was a client kingdom of Rome and as such immune from Roman censuses. Former Oxford professor of Jewish studies and brilliant scholar Guy of Hermes notes in his article The First Christmas in the December 2000 issue of History Today, there's no evidence that such a census occurred in the kingdom of Herod, who as a client king would have been exempt from censuses. Fifth, the census Quirinius conducted in Judea in AD 6 triggered a revolt. Among other things, the census signaled direct Roman rule and annexation of Judea, which meant the inhabitants would now pay taxes directly to Rome. Josephus reports that someone called Judas the Galilean became zealous to draw the Jews to a revolt. According to Josephus, Judas said this taxation was no better than an introduction to slavery and exhorted the nation to assert their liberty. The Jewish Encyclopedia says Judas the Galilean was leader of a popular revolt against the Romans at the time when the first census was taken in Judea. This first census in Judea and the revolt were so infamous that Acts has Gamaliel, teacher and leader in the Sanhedrin, simply refer to it as the days of the census. In sum, Pastor Ryan's first proposal fails to eliminate the contradiction between Matthew and Luke, or even to raise a reasonable doubt about it. On to part 2.